generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet. Hey everybody, and welcome back for another episode of the Skeleton Crew. We are halfway through the season now. We just completed episode 4 this week. We have an episode on Christmas Eve and an episode on New Year's Eve, which honestly, if you're like us, we probably won't be able to watch the one on New Year's Eve until after the New Year because we'll be, out and about. But uh, we got some very interesting stuff with this episode. I would say some of it, I kind of, this was probably the first episode where I felt like, there's some stuff going on here I'm not quite sure was as, as effective as what's happened already or exciting. But the stuff after that was very, very much interesting. So I think there'll be some cool discussion here as we get in further into the episode. But what was your guys' reactions to episode 4? Did you like it?
This is one that I wish was a week where we got two episodes released at the same time because for me, it was kind of lacking. I know we got some cool stuff, and I'm gonna let you guys cover that because I think Jeremy at least, and I'm gonna guess Austin too, we're more excited about the lore and the background and that kind of stuff. But for me, I like the action, and so there wasn't a whole lot of that here.
Yeah, it was a really it was plot focused episode. They the whole time the kids just want to go home and that's where they thought they were going. It turns out they're on a different planet. The details of that are sort of interesting. But yeah, kind of like Sarah said, it was pretty slow moving. And when we find out this isn't the right planet and it's just kind of I don't know. It's not too unlike the Star Wars like kids shows where at the end of every episode they nearly escape the Empire or the bad guys by blasting off in hyperspace. And like 50% of the episodes end that way. And that's fine. Like I understand the format of the show. But this isn't like an episode of the week type show. So I guess I don't know what I was expecting, I guess, but fetch quest into fetch quest into fetch quest where they have to keep going planet hopping wasn't exactly where I thought this was going. I thought it was going to be more like this clue takes us to this clue, which is sort of what we're doing, but uh yeah.
Yeah, I kind of expected what initially happened in this episode to happen, where so like in episode 3 when they were describing is it Kim was the owl?
Hmm.
So when they were describing to Kim, she said, "Well, we don't know where this planet is. Can you describe it to me? And, I'll kind of put this thing together and we'll get you some coordinates to go to your planet." And so the kids tell her, what's familiar from their planet, and they get coordinates to go somewhere. And, at the end of episode 3, they're heading towards where those coordinates are, and then we get there with this episode. But something that's interesting from episode 3 is that Kim is mentioning that there's these 7 planets that are all kind of together. People don't really know much about them. 6 of them were destroyed. Well, at least I think destroyed is kind of with quotation marks, but based on what happened with this episode. But, there's also the one that was left, which was at Atten, which is where they're trying to go to. So they get these coordinates of what Kim or where Kim thinks they're supposed to be going. And so when they get to this planet, yeah, it looks a lot like what they said, but it's like the polar opposite of what they were expecting, right? They show up. Yes, we see the neighborhood that looks just like their neighborhood, but it's destroyed. They see forests that look just like what they have at home, but they're destroyed. And so they're at the wrong planet in those mix of seven planets. So
Hmm.
the first thing I thought was interesting about that is, does that mean every one of those seven planets was basically exactly the same? Like, what about that are we gonna learn? Like, why were they all the same?
Yeah, they're all like little carbon copies of each other.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, you know, is that done for some sort of sense of control? Like, is somebody, because we still don't really know who they call them the supervisor, right? The one that's at the top.
Yes.
So we still don't
Yeah.
really know who or what that is. We have seen their office from this episode, right?
Yeah, I have a couple theories. And I one of them's real crazy, so I'll save that one for sure till the end. Um, but one of them I can bring up right now, I suppose.
Yeah.
Um, all the all these planets, I'm getting the vibes that this was like I know Kim gave us the story that they were set up as I don't remember the terminology she used, but essentially like safe worlds that were
Utopias? I don't
kind
know if that
of,
was the word, but
but they were like they were hidden away for a reason, right? Um, and I think that reason could have been to preserve, I don't know if it's like this way of living or to preserve these species, if these, because we keep seeing the same species come up, like Neil's species, and then the humans, of course. And then I think one of the alien species shows up again on the new planet. But they are mostly humans, so it's hard to tell. Um, but basically where I'm going with this is I think these planets have all been set up kind of like little Noah's Arks where we take some of the population and we're just going to preserve our these like seven or nine races of life. We're just going to keep them going on these planets that are hidden to like keep the galaxy going no matter what like power comes into power. I don't know, just like a safe, like a backup plan kind of thing.
Are you saying you think that one of the other at planets is a planet full of Neils, of elephant men and
I,
women?
I'm saying they all had Neils. I'm saying this one did. I, like, because we see in this episode, we see like the statue with the head missing. On Neil and Wim's planet, there's a similar statue, but it's Neil's species,
Mm.
not, so I don't know. They're doing some interesting things. And the other reason I had this idea is because they all show up in the mural, like all the species of those aliens.
the ones
And
in the
that
house.
mural, yeah, that mural is like the same mural from both planets. So that's why
Right.
I'm kind of like, maybe these are all connected and set up the same way on purpose by, whoever set them up. But, you know, that's still to come.
Yeah. I guess so. Let's talk a little bit more about what happened in the episode. So they get to the planet, they realize, hey, there's a lot of similarities, not only the neighborhood, but they walk into one of the houses. And I remember when we were watching, Sarah goes, I think that's um what's
Ferns.
Fern? Yeah, that's Fern's house, which yeah, definitely looked like Fern's house, even had the mural like you were talking about, Austin. And so that really is what gave the characters like, what is going on here? Like our home is destroyed. But then, they're out and about. The kids actually take off and have Jod stay behind. He stays with the ship with Shmi. And so when the kids are out and about, they also run into a character, the girl behind me here, and she's trying to protect them from these like bandit people that are going around the planet. And one thing I thought was interesting about these bandit people, and maybe it's just there and it's not supposed to have any significance, but some of the helmets and the like the goggles that they were wearing was very much the same as what the Imperials were using in their wars. So like if you go back and you look at Solo, so the Han Solo film, and he signs up to be a part of the Empire, the Imperials, and he goes into battle. He's actually wearing the helmet and the goggles that we see some of these people wearing. And so it makes me wonder, was it the Empire that came to these planets and destroyed so many of them, and their armor was left behind? And maybe there was something that the Empire wanted from there. Maybe there was something they were doing with these planets, and then all of a sudden they don't want that information to get out, and that's why they try to destroy them. Were they test subjects for the Death Star? I don't know. But it does make me wonder if there was Imperials there at one point based on the armor. Um, but yeah, they're trying to avoid them, and then Jod actually gets basically him versus those people because they show up and find their ship. This was actually a part that I really wasn't a huge fan of because we see Jod surrounded and he even feels like he's defeated. He literally says, "Oh, just shoot me." And I thought that was hilarious.
Awesome. Yeah, that's
But
great.
later on, the kids think that they're gonna run into this gang again, and it's Jod, and he basically said that he paid them off with their with um what's his
Take
name? The
Wim's
kid.
money. Wim.
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 Oh yeah, with his lunch money. And Wim is very
Yeah.
disappointed.
So I got a couple thoughts on this. First of all, do you really think that in a planet where there's two tribes going at war against each other, that credits are going to mean anything to anyone? Because I don't think they're really going to care about it. And secondly, how is it we have two tribes against each other and the whole episode is, training with one group to try to find the other and steal or attack or whatever. And the two tribes never actually see each other in this episode. We never get an actual battle between the two of them. It's always the tribe finding our crew or our crew finding one of the tribes.
Yeah, that's what I didn't really like about the Jod part of it, where it was, oh, we're about to get an altercation here, and then it was, oh, I just paid him off. So I kind of didn't really like that. I thought that was an anticlimactic situation, but I mean, it saves time and money on the episode, I suppose.
Right. This is kind of the second time they've done this. So I'm kind of wondering how many times they're going to reuse the same bit because we also don't see him really get out with, SM-33 the first time when he's getting him out of the pirate hideout. He kind of just does it. And then we see him flying back and being shot at.
Right.
Um, so that kind of reminded me of what happened in that episode where maybe they're not going to show every in between scene with him, and that's fine. Um,
There might
but it did
be,
seem,
I was gonna say maybe they're hiding something about Jod from us as the viewers in those
yeah.
instances. Like, what if he didn't pay off those people? Maybe he had some sort of other trick that he did,
hmm Yeah,
because
I
he's
think he
pretty
still has the
mysterious.
credits. I
What?
think he absolutely still has those credits.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to come up, but I'm pretty sure he still has them. But yeah, it's interesting. I mean, these two tribes, right? We don't ever see them fighting over each other, but I don't think it would be much of a fight. They all look too weak to, pick up a blaster. They are fighting over cattle, basically. Like these people are not doing good.
Well, and they had that one like mega weapon that
Yeah.
I don't know how having that you wouldn't just annihilate the other group in an instant.
They made it sound like it's for like ships and stuff. Like it's like a ground to air type.
Mhm.
That's how I understood it, but I could be look like seeing what I want to see.
So
I
do you
mean, we never
think?
got to see it fired, so who knows?
Yeah, I just look at it from like the writing perspective in their shoes. Like, why would they set up this whole scene to show Neil the big cannon if it's not going to circle back at some point?
Well, the one
So,
one thing I wonder about that though is if all these planets are the same, do you think Aten has that same
yep, yep.
anti-air defense? So if when they come in, are they gonna know how to avoid it because they know about this thing?
Neil
Or
knows how to do it.
yeah.
Neil's gonna get this cannon and he's gonna cannon something. I don't know what it is yet, but looking forward to it.
So I would probably say that this up until this point of the episode, it was very uh not super important, but the second half is, in my opinion.
Oh, can you say that one more time? I think it cut for a second.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say just the first half of the episode really wasn't super important in my opinion, but the second half is where I thought it was pretty significant. Um, because the second half, they actually go to a supervisor's tower.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was hoping we were gonna find out what these supervisors look like, or maybe there's a dead one or something, but we don't. But we do see their office, and the office has like a bunch of different pillars, and they're the seven different planets that at and then whatever's after that, right? At Aten is where they're trying to go, but then there's a bunch of others that are at this, at that, blah, blah, blah. I don't remember exactly which one they're on, but what's important about those is that they have coordinates. What's wrong with the coordinates that they need?
They're gone.
Who did it?
SM-33.
Yeah.
He's been here
Can't say I
before.
remember no at Atten.
True. So, yes, of course. We kind of breezed past it earlier, but yeah, when Jod gets caught at the ship, he's trying to remind SM-33 about the planets and kind of get to the bottom of this. Um, so he yeah, we that's another instance where we get that line. And it's the same line he said the previous two times. He says it again
Gosh,
later this episode.
he said it probably
Um,
at least 5 times in this episode alone.
yeah, so for us to finally get the reveal that oh, he was programmed not to remember, to forget everything he knows. That's why he keeps saying the same thing. I thought that was a really fun reveal.
I did too. I, I feel like it's kind of a cool, clever way to do it.
Yeah. And then of course, in the brief moment they get to spend with that with the Troy, Neil does make a new friend with the girl you got in your little photo back there. Um, he makes a new friend, and she must have inspired him with a little bit of courage, because he saves his friends at the end from being torn apart limb from limb. Gives him a few extra seconds before Jod can come in and save the day. So,
Yeah, who knew you could just stop this beast of a droid just by flipping the off switch?
hmm hmm yeah, he's in need of repair. I don't know if his switches are normally that exposed, but right now, guy's not. He's in rough shape.
Yeah, there's a lot of him that's exposed.
I'm wondering if all these planets are the same, or at least mostly the same, and only the coordinates for at Aten are destroyed. Will we next time go to one of the other sister planets and go to that observatory tower to see the coordinates for at Aten?
Um, that's a great question. The show would be a bit boring to me if that's all they do is go to the next planet and then try to find the coordinates and oh, they're scratched out again. And then they could try it 7 times, 6 more times. But I just think that's a bit boring. So I hope I don't know, I guess that
I
like
like the
last week I knew exactly where the show was going. This week, no, I don't know anymore.
I like that idea a lot. And I think if they covered that in like 5 minutes for the beginning or something, where immediately they're flying to the next planet or something, they get the coordinates and then we, go along for a little quick ride, I think that would be perfectly fine. But yeah, if they spend a whole episode to do that and we meet like a whole other tribe that looks exactly like the one they just saw, I think that would be kind of a waste episode. I think what would have helped me for this episode is what if we got like a 2 minute scene of seeing what Brutus is up to? I miss that guy.
Yeah, just like another perspective, just to kind of let,
He's trying to hunt these guys down, right?
yeah, and it gives you time to have your characters like live in the world for a moment.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when they're doing their training, or when Neil is having his little moment with, I think her name is Reina or something like that. It just came back to me. But um, those would have been excellent times to like, right before those scenes or something cut away to show what the bad guys are up to. Um, even if it's not much, even if it's just like one of the pirates comes in and tells Brutus, "We have a lead," we and it's got to be like the owl, right? That's got to be how they. That's like the open plot hole, loose thread at this point.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, also she talked to
so
the New Republic, so
true,
maybe they would have something too.
true. So there's a couple ways the pirates can kind of find out where they've been, where they're going. We'll see when they show up again.
I just hope it's not just like the last episode.
Um, we'll see.
I just feel like they had a decent amount of back and forth. Like we saw Brutus in episode one, I think two, and maybe even part of three. This might have been the first one where he wasn't, but I don't know.
All I can say is IMDb is no help because they're saying Brutus is only credited in 4 episodes, but Wendell is in 8, and I'm pretty confident, Wendell being Wim's dad, I'm pretty confident we didn't see the parents at all in this episode. So he can't be in 8 because he wasn't in this one.
Right.
Right, unless there were like parts that were cut out and moved to another episode or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's see. Were there any other I mean, I think we pretty much got to the end. They get attacked by SM-33, shut him off at the last second, and then
And they
Neil
cut.
faints, and then it cuts.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I mean, I get what they're doing, and it's worked every week where I'm like, dang it, I don't want them to cut right there because I want to see what happens next. But at the same time, I'm like, come on, you could fill this up to an hour. But
Yeah, we could have had a couple more scenes maybe from another perspective. I think that would have flushed it out.
yeah, I don't know. Any other thoughts of where the show may be going? I definitely feel like we're gonna find out who did the destruction of these planets, and I also think eventually we're gonna find out what these supervisors look like. At least I hope
Yeah.
they do.
Yeah, I hope so.
Maybe they'll find one, and that's how they find out about what the heck's been going on.
I feel like they're just droids. I don't see the excitement with them personally.
You think the supervisor's a droid?
Well, their police are, at least on at Eton.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. So I can maybe go into it now because we're at the end.
Oh yeah, you had one more you want to talk about.
Yeah. So what if the supervisor is the old captain of the ship of the so that's another thing that's come out from the toys. So this ship that they've been cruising around has a
Hmm.
cool name as far as I know. I think it's called like the Onyx Cinder. but we don't have to use that name. So they're on their ship. Um, what if the old captain of the ship is the supervisor? What if they found the planet, found all these planets, and wanted all the treasure for themselves? Or maybe it's like cursed or something. Because I still can't quite figure out the pose that SM-33 was in when they found him. He was like pulling the latch for the door, wasn't he? Like trying to shut the door.
I don't recall. I'd have
Okay.
to watch it again.
Yeah, I want to go back and watch the first episode now, especially after this, just to see what maybe I've been missing. Because I think there's more to this mystery, obviously. Um, but yeah, he tells SM-33 if anybody comes poking around, take them out. So there's something that they're protecting on that planet.
That'd be
Um,
interesting.
whether it's for greed or for safety, we will see.
This makes me wonder because that ship was pretty buried. Like it
Hmm.
definitely had been there a long time.
Well, and
Yeah,
it was like upside down, wasn't it?
I think so.
yeah, it was like docked kind of like on its side, like literally buried underground. Yeah, it was, had to have been there for like decades.
I do wonder who the captain of that ship is, and if it is the supervisor, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting. Um, if it's been there for a long time, it would have to be a species that can live that long too,
Yes. Yeah,
or a
so that's the
droid.
thing. Like, if all these planets were set up to just be little cache, money caches, little depots, where, they're like getting a lot of the galaxy's resources all condensed into these planets. Well, what if the pirate's like, okay, I can take all those resources for one planet for myself? Like, that's like the ultimate pirate greed thing to do, right? So, like, if he gets all those other planets, destroyed, um, basically does whatever he needs to do to like reroute all the shipments, all the resources like to this one planet. I don't know. That's just where I see like the grandiose where this could go. But I just wanted to kind of pick your guys' brains on that and see if you had any thoughts.
I had not thought that deeply into it at all, but
Yeah.
it is a very wild thought, and I think it's just crazy enough to work.
Yeah, I haven't thought much about who the captain of that ship could be. Um, I think I've thought more of just Shmi being, or SM-33, just being kind of wonky and very secretive about, his programming and stuff, like how he was programmed not to remember. Well, somebody had to have done that, which means somebody's trying to be shisty about it. And like you said, what are they hiding? So, yeah, that could be very interesting. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to wait and see if it ends up being explained later on.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on episode 4?
Uh, I think we,
Still haven't figured out KB's visor yet.
yeah, she's a sharpshooter. That we didn't bring up when Wim blast the big cannon. That was pretty funny. Like, I did like the episode. It had interesting camera work. Like at the end, the shot with SM-33. Like, what did you guys think of the shaky cam?
I thought that was pretty trippy.
Yeah, it caught me off guard for sure. I was not ready for it. I
It
was
didn't
like,
quite feel
oh,
like a Star Wars shot, but it didn't bother me.
yeah. It took me a little out of the moment, but I saw what they were going for. They were trying to give you a little bit of horror from like the kid's point of view, which I get.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Oh, and then like I just noticed interesting things like in the composition of the show and how well it's made. Like once again, everything looks very nice and polished, even for them being in like a dystopian planet. Um, all the effects of everything are really good. The costumes, like the cuts, like there's one cut I really liked, where the captain of the Troik is kind of like walking with his staff and it's clinking on the metal. And then it like cuts to Shmi's peg leg at the same pace. It was like,
Hmm.
I don't know, I just have an appreciation for that stuff, like the timing and the
I really like how it really does feel like a pirate show in
Mhm.
Star Wars. That's probably my favorite part about it.
Yeah, the vibes are good.
All right. Well, we look forward to episode 5 next week. Something that I secretly hope that happens, but I don't think it will, is the fact that next week's episode releases on Christmas Eve. I think it'd be kind of interesting to have a um, Life Day reference, even though Life Day is technically November 17, I believe, but it is like the Wookiee holiday for um, their world. So I think it'd be cool if they reference it. We did get some holiday special references in the past, so I wouldn't put it past them to put it here
In
too.
in this episode, they played the music again.
Yeah, there's like a little hologram that they turned on for like 2 seconds. Yeah. Uh, but we will be back next week. So that is our discussion on episode 4. If you enjoy this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Of course, we have next week and the rest of the season to go. Drops a like if you like the video and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on episode 4. And also, what are your thoughts about what's going on with the mystery of the planets? And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.